When it comes to buying a home, it is full of processes and steps and words and things and numbers, and all of that can be completely confusing and overwhelming to someone who just wants to get into a property. So specifically in this video, I want to talk to you all about making an offer. Making an offer on a property is the process where you decide on a property that you love and it's met all the requirements and it's in the price range that you want, and to include the neighborhood or the community that you want, and it meets all of those yeses that you are looking for, and whatever that may be for you as a homeowner, because that's going to be distinct and unique for all of us. But once you decide, I'm going to make an offer, what next? What happens? So I want to talk to you today about the process of making an offer. I want to demystify it and go into the steps and things that you can expect to anticipate. So let's dive right into that. When you make an offer, what you can expect is that your realtor, ideally myself, will write a contract. That contract will include a few pieces. It'll include the contract proper, which has a host of different legal terms and requirements and language in it, but it sets out some important criteria that you need to be mindful of. It sets out the price of the property. You and your realtor should always talk beforehand about the price of the property. And there's some information that you'll get prior to this, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, that's going to help you to determine and dictate what that price of value is more specifically for that property. So you have that reassurance. Remember, I always say that the number is written in ink. It is not written in stone. There's always room for negotiation. That contract will include the price of the property. It'll include the earnest money deposit, which is that good faith money that you put down. It'll include the name of the title company. It'll include the time frames and legal time frames that you have to have a commitment letter, which is a pre-approval letter if you don't already have one of those in hand. It'll outline the time frames for doing a home inspection of your property. It'll outline the division and the breakup on the taxes and recordations. So typically that is split 50-50. So make sure that is filled in by your realtor when you're reviewing the contract and those documents. In addition to that, it includes addendums. These addendums are protections for you and or additional clarifications that are not specified in the contract. The addendum include things like the home inspection addendum. And the home inspection can go a lot of different ways. You can have an as-is home inspection contingency where you waive your right completely to have a home inspection, or you can say, I'm going to accept the property as is. So I'm not going to ask you as the current owner to make any renovations to the property, but I am going to reserve the right to go in and have an inspection done on the property. And if that inspection turns up some material defects that are things that I'm not comfortable with repairing, that I, as the buyer, have the right to walk away from the property. To your traditional home inspection contingency, that gives you some prescribed time period for you to actually inspect that property with a certified or qualified inspector of your choosing. It includes things like the appraisal addendum and the financing addendum. A lot of times the appraisal addendum is included in the contract proper in a clause there, so it is not always going to accompany your offer, but definitely the financing addendum. The financing addendum protects you in the event that you, for whatever reason, don't qualify. Believe it or not, there are cases where individuals are getting a property and they've worked so hard to get their credit up, and they decide, well, while I'm going ahead and buying this car, they get tricked in or suckered in to buying a car or getting a credit card. And that will break down materially that transaction for getting you into a home because you've obtained some additional debt there. So If you're not able to secure the loan because the lender now sees you as a credit risk, then you may be in a situation where you're not going to be able to get that home, and you don't want to be legally obligated to have to write a check for X hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that financing addendum is going to protect you there. In addition to the financing addendum, you'll have things like specification of home warranty, whether or not that's going to be something that's going to be included, whether or not they're going to be artifacts or things in the property or fixtures that are going to convey, such as curtains or rods or things of that nature. You'll also have property disclosures. The property disclosures lets you know any known or material issues with the property. So let's say this particular homeowner had lived there and they know that the property floods every fall. Then that's something they have to tell you, and they have to indicate that as part of the property disclosures. If there are things that are not going to convey in the property, such as an alarm system, or they choose to take the washer and dryer with them because it's, has sentimental value for whatever the reason, then that is also something that is going to be in the property disclosures. So it's going to be important that you go through these documents, review them, and get a clear understanding of what they say and what they mean for you. Your realtor, myself, will specify and outline what is inside of these documents to give you really kind of the Cliff Notes version of what this 40 or 50 page packet is going to look like. In addition to that, you'll look at, when you make an offer, the length of time the property has been on the market. It's valuable information to know how long the property's been on the market. If you're in a place where the property's been on the market for more than 2 weeks, then that gives you probably some opportunity to really negotiate down the price of the property. In that same vein, you want to look at, depending on the days on the market, you want to look and see if the property has seen a reduction in value. Has the homeowner reduced the price of the property? And that gives you some ability to determine overall value, or what your game plan is going to be going forward when making your offer on a property. You also want to observe any observe any reductions in the price value. So you also, as I mentioned earlier, to determine the value of the property, you're going to look at a comparative market analysis. That comparative market analysis, that CMA, is going to be put together by your real estate agent, and it's going to have a host of statistics. Now, not all real estate agents are good with market analysis. I can tell you, in my experience in talking and dealing with real estate agents, it is one of those things that a lot of real estate agents don't like to do because there's a lot of math or numbers that are involved. No matter how much our system streamlines this process for them, a lot of agents don't like to do them, or they're not good at them. And one of the things that you will find is that the things that are important to take into consideration when you're doing a market analysis is the square footage of your property. Are the properties that you're seeing in that market analysis comparable in square footage? Because that's going to impact it. What's the distance from the subject property, which is your property that you're interested in? Are the other properties that are in the CMA packet that are being used as an analysis? How far are they from your current property? Once you begin to get over a half a mile or a mile, you have to begin to call in question how valuable that market analysis is, because those different property or property types changes. And a reason that, unless it's a situation where in that particular community dynamics have not changed so much so where properties have changed because the community is overall historically stable. Something to know and something to inquire with your real estate agent about. In addition to that, one of the things in the market analysis that you want to think about is whether or not the properties are all for sale, sold, pending. That variation is going to be so important because it gives you a sense of the overall health of the market. It's important that you look at your market analysis and see that there are some properties on there that are currently on the market for sale and what the value of those are, as well as what the condition of those properties are, what properties have sold and what those conditions are. And honestly, the properties that have sold are going to be some of the most important because it gives you a sense of what people in the ecosystem that are already buying or have bought properties are willing to pay for a property and what they've determined the value to be. and it gives you a sense of gauging where you want to make an offer and what you can expect when making an offer and inside of your packet. So your market analysis is an extremely important tool when you are making a decision and putting together your packet and your offer and discussing the nitty-gritty. That also leads to that point where I said before about negotiating or talking about what that price is going to be. The reason I use the word negotiating is because if you have a good realtor, you should be able to ask and they should be able to inform you as to what they think the price and the value of the property is, and to justify the reasons for that value, whether it's a reduction or increase. So specifically for myself, even before we get to the point of making an offer, I only send my clients properties, A, that are in their specifications, and B, that I know for certain that I can negotiate the price down. Now you may say that's a little bit audacious for you to assume that you can negotiate the price down, but one of the things that I'm really confident in is my ability to do math. And as a statistician, I feel like if you can't do math as a statistician, that might not have been something that you want to get into. It just so happens that I'm both a statistician and a realtor and a ravenous entrepreneur. So all those things combined are really great assets that I'm able to use when I'm doing my market analysis. And I personally am the type of agent that really enjoys doing market analysis and seeing how the market is moving and the various ebbs and flows. Another thing to consider is your offer status. Are you the only offer on the table, or are there multiple offers? This is also going to be important because this is going to impact your strategy. The strategy is not always a situation where you're going to just submit an offer for add the list price, below the list, or below the list price. In some situations, it could be advantageous for you to submit your offer amount above the list price, especially if you're going to ask for, which is my next point, seller concessions. Seller concessions are going to be monies that you ask for from the seller in order to help you with your down payment and closing costs to reduce the amount of money that you have to come to the table with. So if you're going to ask for seller concessions and it's a situation where there are multiple offers on the table, one, you may have to discuss and consider or weighing whether or not asking for the full 3% really is advantageous first. The second is also consider and weigh the value of offering a little bit more above the sales price, because ultimately you're asking for money back. And if you're willing to offer a little bit more above the sales price, then less of that money net over net shakes out having to come out of the seller's pocket. So it creates a win-win situation. Most individuals, or not even most, I would say some individuals that I've engaged with, that I've even proposed that to my clients, they said, I don't want to have to pay more for the property than what I quote unquote think the property is worth. But the one thing that I'll always say is that, if the property is for you and it's something that you want, it is for you. All of these things are values, are not only valuable tools, but tools and strategies for you to consider and to break down how we as real estate agents evaluate the process. And one valuable piece of information to take is that if you talk to any loan officer, they'll tell you that between $5,000 and $10,000, you're seeing about a $50 to $100 increase in your monthly mortgage payment. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze for you, and whether or not it makes sense for you based on the property that you're looking at, and how badly do you want it. Because if you really want the property that badly, there's a strategy there to help you win the day. So hopefully this gives you some sense about making an offer and all of the pieces. While we couldn't cover all of the pieces because this would have been a 45-minute video, hopefully this gives you at least some information to better inform you as you go through the process. My name is Brandon. I'm your trusted realtor. Make sure you like, subscribe, and you hit that notification bell so that way you can stay tuned in and in tune to the latest and greatest information about real estate, not only abroad, but here in the DMV. I'm your trusted realtor, and I look forward to being your resource for all of your real estate needs. Take care. Talk to you soon. Buy the merch.